I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's not enough to say it's nuts. You have to explain why it's so nuts. The invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Ken Lloyd. I am starting the editing process for the third film, Case 369, Chris and the Quantum Gate. It's going to be a sci-fi comedy mockumentary, quite different than the previous films. We're having a fundraiser so we can hopefully properly advertise this film. If you'd like to make a donation, we have links right in the description. Anything is greatly appreciated. Also, check out my previous films. Occult Louisiana's on Tubi, Roku, Apple, and a few more. Doors of Perception on Amazon Prime, and Relay for free. We are booking guests for March. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me, forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today I want to welcome Ken Lloyd. He is an internationally recognized energy architect, transformational healer whose work bridges science, spirit, and multidimensional energy. Ken, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Awesome. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
Thank you so much for coming on. Today we're going to share your life-changing experience that dramatically shifted your perception of reality and human potential. That experience led to explorations of consciousness and what you call the Library of Creation, which is a multidimensional field of healing frequencies and intelligence that, as you say, underpins all life. This should be a very fascinating conversation. Looking forward to getting into your story. Before we do, this is your first time on. Tell us a little bit about yourself and let the audience know how they can find out more.
Yeah, so Ken Lloyd, my marketing team calls me an energy field architect, which we'll get into what that actually means. But ultimately, I'm able to shift your energetic field, which results in real-time physical healing, emotional, physical, mental, as well as activating those spiritual gifts inside of you. So pretty much all the check boxes of things can be done, I'm able to do in one capacity or another. But yeah, we'll get into all that. But the website's kenlloydofficial.com and the socials, kenlloyd.official.
Excellent. Well, I think a great place to start would be how your journey started, how everything came to be, and what led to your current understanding of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is cybersecurity. So I'm a self-taught entrepreneur. Didn't go to school, right? I had no religion, no spirituality. Back in my early 20s, someone challenged me to learn how to write software, right? Your buddy does your things, hey, go do this thing, I dare you. And I did. And the first piece of software that I wrote became one of the first implementations of anti-spyware. I'm one of the original authors and contributors of an antivirus, anti-spyware movement way back in the early 2000s. That software was adopted by AOL as their first anti-spyware application, later acquired by Earthlink. I did it again, built a cybersecurity company with data that went out to hundreds of millions of websites, dug in deep, found all the websites that were installing the badness right on your computer. And then I did it the third time with the last company, which was your mobile security. So built a system in the back end to look at hundreds of millions of apps and tell you what's happening with the app, who's taking what and who's doing what. So background, cybersecurity, and the idea of, a lot of investigative work on what are the bad guys doing, how do they do it, and how do we keep you safe? That's the background. These weren't fun times. I mean, it sounds like a great story, right? But incredibly stressful, right? And even though I went through the acquisitions, in 2018, I was in that third acquisition of that mobile security company, and it was very tumultuous. I had a business partner that wasn't as friendly as we would all like our business partners to be. So every day was a little anger. Every day was a lot of energy drinks. I was on prescribed ADHD medicine. My employees were across the world, not sleeping much. And early spring 2018, I was triggered. Didn't know what that was, but I found myself upset, went into the room, laid down, and as soon as I laid down, my stomach arched in the air, like an upside down letter U, and I was electrified, frozen in position. Now, this didn't last more than 3 or 4 minutes, right? But what happened is I could feel energy swirling in the abdomen, and towards the end, it kind of popped out of my body. Now, I didn't know what was happening at that time. It took me almost 2 years to go down that rabbit hole to figure it out. And in retrospect, the idea of somebody having a near-death experience, they get the metaphorical tunnel opens, they go to the other side, they have a conversation, they have an instant healing, they have a whole life-changing thing. Well, imagine that tunnel opening, but I don't actually go over. Instead, a walk-in soul comes across and enters into my field. Now, again, I didn't know this happened. All I knew is the very next day, I passed out after that, but the next day I woke up, I had peace. I was peaceful. I wasn't angry anymore. Now, I still had things to deal with, right? But all that was gone. And I had what can be better be described as a trauma release event. Our trauma is stored in the cells of the body. It's stored in our field. That's what came out of the abdomen, was all that trauma. And when trauma leaves the body, our body vibrates higher. When it gets up high enough, magical things happen. And in this case, the team was able to raise me up high enough to allow that walk-in to come over. Let me kind of explain what a walk-in is, because I think it's a kind of an unusual concept for a lot of folks. There are a lot of different there's 3 different types of walk-ins that I'm aware of. There's what they call a soul exchange. And you'll hear about these people literally dying, right? And they go over and they come back, minutes later, an hour later, whatever that is, and their personality is gone. Mm-hmm. They're not the same person. In fact, they don't really recognize the same people, the same relationships, the same job. Now, they know them because those memories are stored in the body, but the new soul that came in, and I like to say the tunnel opened and the old soul walked out and the new one came in and they slapped each other high five on the way through the tunnel. But a walk-in, it replaces the body. And typically you'll find these happening with those miraculous healing events, like, oh my gosh, I had cancer, and now I don't, and 2 days later, and everything's healed, like, whatever these things are. Those are soul exchanges. The exchange coming in doesn't necessarily need all of the birth experience. It doesn't need to be an infant or an adolescence or whatever these are. It comes in at a time it needs to do a job. It finishes up whatever contracts or trauma the old soul had, and then begins what it needs to do. And often these are large, light worker type of jobs. I call them jobs, right? They kind of have a mission to heal or to shift or to change or bring information in for a large audience. So there's a purpose they come into. They're not coming here for vacation. Now, there's another type called a soul braid. And that's what I became that day. Like a braided hair. More than one or more souls occupy the same field. Now, it's not like there are voices in your head. It's not like that. In fact, I didn't know it was there for 2 years until somebody actually told me. I've never talked to that one, and there's a lot more to the story I'll get to in just a moment. But what happens is that particular soul walk-in is what I call a tool in a toolbox. Okay? A lot of different tools in a toolbox for whatever job there is. And its job was to come over and educate me on what happened to me and educate me on energy. And what happened, I woke up the next day peaceful. I'm like, oh, what was that? And what do? We hit Google, right? I'm like, what was that swirling? It was energy, so on and so forth. So I began, furiously looking for answers on what took place. And if anybody's ever started a company or a passion, you know that when you get that bug, you can't stop. Every moment of every day, you're in it. And this is what happened. I began going down that rabbit hole and actually losing focus of all computers, even though I was in the middle of an acquisition. I read about chakras. I read about the aura. I read about 5D. I read about ascension, what I call the basics. This little energy behind me says, go detox the body. Right, so I did a heavy metal detox for about 6 months, had all the metal in my mouth removed, and all of a sudden now I'm feeling energy in my hands. I did take Reiki certification, but I don't have any modalities. Nothing I do is rehearsed or recorded or anything. Everything I do is in real time. But as the energy started moving through my body, I picked up a book on how to heal the body. Any book you can get in the metaphysical store, right? How to shift energies and use your intuition and your visuals. And it was working on folks. To my surprise, it took me years before I realized it was actually happening. But as I moved through the journey, so this is about 7 years, maybe 8 years from this recording, roughly, given my math. And the one on April 1st, 2023, I had 12 more come in. I had a woman doing a session on me. Every healer needs a healer, every psychic needs a psychic, right? So I had a woman doing a session on me, and 12 more walk-ins came in, right? Still didn't know, so I had 13 in my field. Wasn't talking to them, right? Now I had great intuition at this point, but no conversations. And the healing amplified dramatically. What would take me an hour to work on a shoulder would take me 5 or 10 minutes. And it got faster and faster. And I found that I would end up with groups of people in front of me with shoulder issues for a couple weeks, or heart issues, or digestive issues. And they kept pinging these into groups. And I later realized that just like the programmer I was, software programmer, I was programming energetic code. I was learning cleverly, how did this get there? How do we get it out? And how do we keep it out? Just like I did in the cybersecurity arena. But now I'm able to apply these codes quicker. So that happened April 1st, 2023, December 12th, 2024. Oh, anyway, my math's wrong, 2024. I get this little ping in the ear that says, go meditate in the closet. I meditated in the closet, and I did. And I found myself locked in position. I couldn't itch. I couldn't twitch. All I could feel this energy coming into the body through the crown, lighting up my body once again with this massive energy. And that was the moment the higher self stepped into the physical vessel, into my field. Now, when a soul exchange, backing up for a moment, comes in, as we mentioned, their life gets disrupted, and often they find themselves in divorce and changing jobs and moving locations. None of that happened to me for years. Like, I thought this was wonderful until the higher self stepped in. And within 3 weeks, I was asking for a divorce of a 17-year marriage, beautiful marriage, right? Now, I have been in cybersecurity. I've built 3 companies. I've lived a wonderful life, at least with regards to stuff. I put up the house for sale, sold all the cars, sold all the belongings, and I was in Mexico within 8 weeks.
Wow.
Never been out of the country. Don't speak Spanish.
Huh.
Yeah, so you follow these things because it was so compelling that I didn't. People say they have a choice, free will, when it comes to your own spirituality, but sometimes it's so compelling, you just have to move forward in whatever that trust process is. So I go to Mexico. I'm in Yalapa, Mexico for a month, and 9 more come in. So now I've got 22 in my field. Again, still not having conversation, still very confused on what's happening. I find myself in Tulum a couple months later, and I get this intuition hit to go do Bufo and Cambo. For your audience, these are plant medicines, right? I don't like plant medicines. I'm just not that guy, right? Some people really enjoy them, right? Because it gets them connected. But for me, when things start moving around and the visuals start changing, I'm like, oh, somebody hang on, let me give you a seatbelt. Like I'm just not that guy. So I end up doing the Cambo, and what the Cambo does, that's the frog medicine, and they burn the little holes in your arm, right? And that creates this purging in your system. Opens up the cells of the body. It's a rapid detox. And it went beautiful for me because I'd already gone through all of my detoxing process. And then within 2 hours, I'm doing the Bufo, which again, for your audience, is the toad medicine, which is the DMT, the God molecule, the ego death. It's got some wonderful verbs, descriptions of it. And literally, it's all of the above. It's about a 25-minute, I want to say the word trip, but that's really not the way to describe it. For the first 10 or 15 minutes, it's all kaleidoscopes. You can't see anything. But as you're coming through this, I see my ego being walked out by 2 other souls. And he was pretty upset, actually. He's looking back at me, wondering what I was doing. I'm like, I don't know either. So Right. And so I start coming through, and I'm in the tent in Tulum, and I see all 22 of those souls around me. 21 of them are shards of light. One of them looked like they're in full 3D form. I open my eyes, same thing. I close them, same thing. And then I get the message that says, your 24th chromosome is now online, and everything you have done up to this point was the sniff of the aroma to come. None of that made sense. I had to Google all this after I was done. But that was the moment when they opened up the cells of the body and they stepped the ego out. All 22 were able to merge into the consciousness of my field. We went from a soul braid to a soul-infused walk-in. My soul is infused with divine walk-in consciousnesses. And these are not full consciousnesses. These are sparks or tools of a conscious that is in the field. It gets better.
Yeah.
So in February of 2025, so literally 12 months ago from this recording, I wake up and I can't move again. Now my healing is just phenomenal. Life is just amazing at this point. And I wake up, I can't move my body, and I have no emotions. Not a bad emotion, not a good emotion, completely void with the strangest feeling. Now, what had been taking place for several years before is this energy in the body, like the tingles. If you've ever had an activation before or put a 9-volt battery on your tongue, you get that tingle sensation. Well, that started happening in my feet and my fingers, my arms and my legs and my chest. When I would lay down at night, it was what I call delicious energy. I wouldn't want to move because I could feel that energy through the body. And what they were doing was changing the cellular structure inside of me. So as they did this, more and more, what I would call voltage, went through the body. This allows me to work on larger and larger audiences at once. So the more that flows through me, the more I was able to deliver. I didn't know it at the time, but I woke up in the middle of them swapping out my energy systems, the chakras, because the body the chakras could no longer handle what the body needed. So it's like I tell people I went to dryer voltage that day. They pulled them out and they popped in some new ones. And when it was like a puppet, when you cut the strings on a puppet, it doesn't move anymore. That's exactly how the body felt. And there were no emotions because the emotional body was being replaced. I know I'm rambling on a little, just trying to give you the background here of this just incredible journey I've been on.
Yeah, it's great.
But after that, the energy in the body was so intense, it was unbearable, almost no sleep. Like I became a melatonin addict, right? It's just doing whatever they could to sleep. And then they ended up merging this consciousness into a larger field. And you could call it an omni stream of divine consciousness, where all the tools, if you will, are available for anybody I'm in front of. So from 22 to an embodied collective to that. And then in June of last year, I had, it's called the Great Divine Director, a spark of him come into the field, and he's the one running the show. So I have a lot of players in the divine realm that flow through my body to work on people. And for the audience, I don't actually heal anyone. They do all the work. I'm just kind of hanging out, driving the car. So I'll pause there. That was a long diatribe. Sorry.
Well, that was a great introduction. Yeah. I do have a few questions related to that. Were you at all spiritual before your first experience? Did you look at any of this stuff before?
No. I think, when I look at my history, I kind of make fun of it because I do have a little bit of humor there. I'm like, I think I went to a psychic once at a carnival. Like, no, not a bit. And I've been to a lot of psychics since, and it's interesting. My team won't give me my stories. They won't give me my past lives, right? What I'm doing right now is what I call my job. It literally feels like my job, just like your job is right now doing this. It just feels completely normal. I thought everyone can do this. But my team won't give me a past life or that information because they don't want me to show up with a story. We could be talking about that time way back when I did that thing, right? They just want me to show up to do the job. With that, I haven't actually watched anybody's YouTubes, podcasts, newsletters, signups in almost 4 years. I don't have any news, no subscribe. I don't know what's going on in the world. I stay completely unattached to everything, which allows me to show up for anybody, for anything. So yeah, no background in this, and no background after I read those books, no background after that.
Going back to the walk-in aspect, the first version that you explained essentially describes a soul being replaced by another. Why would that be necessary in your perspective?
It's necessary because sometimes souls, by the way, there are always contracts involved, right? It's never just an accident, but sometimes souls are like, listen, I'm done. I'm done. I did my 30-year tour or whatever it was. Life's horrible. I don't want to be here anymore. And the spirit, divine, whoever it is, takes that opportunity to come in and to work at the soul level to heal it, but also take over the vessel so it can do something with the body. Again, usually they're larger jobs for the collective. So it's necessary. And there are a lot of walk-ins out there. And a lot of people don't know they're walk-ins. They just feel different. Some walk-ins have full memories of everything. And they're fully connected to their team in real time, literally giving them Google Map turn-by-turn directions in life. Other people are completely blind to the idea that they're here to shift things or to complete the job the other soul is supposed to do. It gets tiring.
Let's talk a little bit more about some of the modalities that you came upon. You mentioned light codes earlier and encoded energies. Could you get a little deeper into these modalities?
Yeah, so I actually listened to an audio one. I was taking a high-speed ferry from Key West from Fort Myers to Key West one day, and I got on the internet while I'm sitting in the boat, and I'm like, oh, look, learn to speak light language in 5 minutes. So light code is light language. And sure enough, at the end of and I was holding my hand over my mouth, speaking light language on the boat, right? Which I thought was really kind of cool. Like, this is neat. What is this? I kind of turned it into a game. So every time I was alone with no one around, I would just let it flow out of my body. Well, light language at its core, and this is my understanding, is the ability for consciousness to talk to consciousness, but not the human brain and not the human ego necessarily. Because what happens if we're having a conversation and I say, hey, look at that red car, you're gonna be, oh, look, the Ford. I'm like, oh no, the Chevy. Like, we'll have a different perception of what that red car is. So light language is designed so that our brain doesn't know what is actually happening, which allows it to work with the consciousnesses of the energy in the body, or talk to your ego, or light language, I can use it to talk to your spirit team, your extraterrestrial team, your higher self. It's kind of a universal translator to some degree. Now, for me, there are thousands and thousands of different light languages that come through, depending on who's in front of me or what I'm talking to. I'll use light language to talk to your organs. And for your audience, I don't actually do the medical medium stuff. Like, I'm not going to get in there and tell you, oh, you have this thing going on. That's not how this works. I go in there and I pull it out, regardless of what it is, without label. I'm able to see the energy creating the distortion in your field. And light language, which not only does it communicate with consciousness, but you could think of it as a software program. It has the program to go in there and do the job you need to do based on the intention that you set. So, light code, light language.
As far as what you are offering people, what are most people, are they coming with ailments? Is it emotional or mental issues, all of the above?
It's all of the above, and it really depends, ironically, on the age group, right? So when you're dealing with those folks that are older in age, right, or have had conditions most of their life, it's going to be ailments, right? It's going to be, it's across the entire spectrum, literally, whether it be the curved spine, whether it be digestive issues, whether it be the big C word. I try to avoid some of these labels, right? All of it. They show up with all of it, right? And they're addressed. And then you've got the group in the middle, which is interested in spirituality. Like, I want to connect to my team. I can't hear my team talking. Why is that? Can you clear those blockages? or they have abundant life blockages. So everything's energy. Even your inability to receive abundance, defined as life stuff, defined as money, whatever these things are, abundance. Those are blockages in your field. And when you clear those blockages, that energy can then flow in through you, right? They want to turn on their gifts, right? I want to be clairvoyant. I want my empathic ability. Or they're so empathic, they need it turned down or tweaked down. So the team is able to tweak whatever's needed based on whatever that person's asking for. Now it gets better. The younger folks, and again, it's all across the spectrum, but the younger folks really want connection to their extraterrestrial teams, their starseeds, right? They want to be able to have that connection to the Mantis, the Pleiadians, the Andromedans, or whoever they're associated with, so they can get their mission, so they can feel at home again and connected, because that energy runs so strong through them. And the team's able to come in, my team's able to come in and build that energetic pathway of communication for them, so they can begin doing whatever they need to do. See, the thing is that it often takes a human to work on a human. So even though that divine energy can do the job, they need to do it through a human, right? So the vessel, if you will, I'm what's called a hollow bone. And the idea that your team, as an example, needs you to have something. I love to pick on shoulders, so maybe they need your shoulder to be healed, right? Or maybe they need you to have a third eye opening. You literally check the box of anything. But they can't do that for you. But what they can do is put somebody in front of you who can. So up there, they work with the divine. The divine will take whatever codes you need. They uplift them or up frequency them to that Christ consciousness, which allows the rapid healing or the rapid shifts. You'll find yourself in front of me one day. It'll come down. It'll flow through you. But they're your coach from your team, meaning that I could have 1,000 people in the audience, and I could do the same 1-minute light language transmission. Every single person will get something different based on whatever their team and their codes and whatever they need. So I don't control any of it. It's all done up there. I'm literally just the vessel to allow it flow through.
You mentioned extraterrestrials. I've been doing this show since 2016. One of my favorite topics that I started out covering was UFOs, extraterrestrials, the paranormal. And I have more questions now than answers than I could have ever imagined. But as far as your understanding of extraterrestrials, do you believe these are physical beings? Are they different than what we understand as angels and demons? Are they physical on some level, or pure energy and maybe just a consciousness level communication? What is your understanding of the extraterrestrials?
Deep topic, all the above, but let's get into it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So us as humans, we have a difficult time with consciousness, communication, of awareness, simply meaning that 10% of us is in the human body, and that 10% is behind that veil, okay? The 90% of us is out there. ETs, extraterrestrials, whatever the checkbox is across of it, they don't necessarily have that same veil. They're able to connect consciousness, like telepathy, but can connect anytime they want, right? Are they in physical form? Absolutely. Are they only etheric form? Absolutely. My team's never been in body form. They are shards of light when I see them. Right? They don't have that, even though I have, we'll talk about this if you'd like, Christed ETs in my field as well. So the extraterrestrials, the way that the team tells me, my team tells me, this is we all have extraterrestrial energy inside of us. And it ebbs and flows depending on where we're at in our, contract or life cycle, which simply means that at this point in today, you may say, you know what, I really resonate with the Mantis, as an example. I connect with them, I see them, I go up to their shift, I do medbed healings, I get technology downloads, it happens all day long. But then as you move through your cycle, your journey of life, you may then resonate with the Pleiadian, because you are also them. You're not just one. You are literally dozens and dozens of them. And as we as a collective come online, you can call it disclosure, call it what you want, right? But as we come online, our connection to our ET family is incredibly important. One, because it allows us to get the information that we resonate with. or we can take action on in our lives or for other people, right? Versus the idea of the ET information funneling through one proper government channel and we get what they tell us to have. So that's just not the way this works. They're absolutely there. Now, there are some interesting things the team tells me about the ETs, which is a little different than most, in my opinion. The team says, listen, there are a lot of new neighborhoods up there, and neighborhoods is what they use to say different ET species, okay? It said, in fact, there are tens and tens and tens of thousands of different ET species energies on the planet now in the energy of the human form. They said, but listen, the neighbors that are playing around right now, the ones that we typically hear about, I call them the top 10. We don't have to name them, but in every neighborhood, you have neighbors that aren't necessarily friendly. Mm-hmm. Meaning that you're going to have some mantis collectives that aren't necessarily 100% in alignment with you, your purpose, or your mission, because there's an agenda. Agenda is a tough word. Don't look at that as a negative thing, just something different, right? Mm-hmm. And then you can go on down the line. The concern is, because as a human, we don't have that real strong consciousness connection, and we have our veil, our discernment that we're supposed to use to determine whether we want to be aligned with that species or that collective or that neighbor is not very good. So here's what happens. As a human, we get on YouTube, we get it wherever we need to get, and we say, listen, and this is a fictitious name. We're like, I really like Joey. Joey's going to do a mantis activation. And Joey, beautiful guy, as an example, fictitious. Joey is sitting there saying, you know what? I'm connected to mantis. I love my tribe. And you know what? He's using his best discernment. But what Joey's not able to do is to look inside of that collective to find out if there's anything in there that isn't in alignment. So the divine's coming in to say, listen, all your truth is inside of us, because every single person on the planet and everywhere is from the divine ultimately. The ET species have different rules and laws and universal code, if you will, that is not necessarily being applied properly to human. So what's happened is the divine's coming in and say, listen, when you're getting that code from that fictitious person, Joey, from the mantis, we're going to make sure that your codes have no back doors, no small print, nothing in the contract that isn't in alignment with you. So that's what the divine does through this light language. Not only are they working on your body, but they're also cleaning your code so that they are your divine alignment. So they're kind of leveling the playing field, because they're like, listen, the humans are the new kid on the block, mm-hmm. right? And we're having a difficult time understanding who's friendly. And this is at an individual level, by the way, not at a collective level. Who's friendly to us and who isn't friendly to us. So yeah. Does that make sense?
It does. Would you say there are multiple different varying quote unquote agendas amongst the different extraterrestrial, whether they have our best interest or don't?
Yeah. The team, I'm a very simple guy. Like, I couldn't get into the esoteric knowledge of it, but they're like, listen, it's a land grab for humanity once again. Right? In the terms of the idea that we have all been energetically, we can look at whatever post 10,000 years ago you want, right? But the point is, the humans have always been under a control structure of one extraterrestrial species or many at a time. And the divine's here to say, no, we're not going to allow that to happen this time, right? And we're all going to play friendly on the same field at this point. So this is what's happening.
Do you also work with people that have what's understood as negative spirit attachments or spiritual energy attached to them?
Mm-hmm. I do, but not in the same way somebody focuses on that. So there are individuals out there where their primary job is entity removal. And by the way, I call them the yuckies just for fun, because I just, I don't want to, label them, because I deal with the yuckies all the time. And I can see them. And I'll reach in and I'll grab them and I'll pull them out through an energetic portal. Now, I don't harm anything, right? But they'll pop back in sometimes. And I'm like, I'm done with you. Like, I'm not here to argue and fight, but you need to go find someone who can do these. And these other individuals, the ones who specialize in that, they love the word annihilation. We're going to send them back to source. We're going to do whatever they do. And that's fine, but that's not what my team does. The team is here to remove the energy interference in your field. Okay? So think of us, our energetic field, as high vibrational, perfectly pure code. pure energy. And as we move through our cycle of our soul existence, and even in the human form, we get distortions like static on a radio. Lowers our vibrational, factor. And when that lowers, that's when we get the dis-ease, the mental, the emotional, the disconnection, the problems in life, the money blockages, so on and so forth. The team comes in and pulls those distortions out no matter where they came from, which rapidly raises your frequency back up. So they're not healing, they're removing the things that prevent you from being healed. So yeah, we deal with those, but I see entities, I see creepy crawlies, I see, your childhood trauma, they'll walk the child out. I see the overlays, the imprints. I pretty much see everything that needs to show up for whatever needs to be done.
These attachments, would you say that they can take different forms, as in different kinds of intelligences? Maybe we understand some as demons or jinns or even extraterrestrial?
Yeah, all of it, right? And even creepy crawlies in terms of bugs and little creatures and things like that. So all energy has a consciousness, right? And when we start dealing with the idea of what we're just labeled darkness for a moment as a generalized statement from what you said, it's a lower vibrational consciousness. And often we create that reality ourselves. Whether or not it was created at human time or prior, we bring that energy in and it creates that same reality of our life showing up with all those yucky things in it, right? But they also want to leave. When you open up the way, you get rid of the contract they're binded to, they normally happily walk right out. They want to go have their new experience as well. So it's a win-win for both. They're not there to torment us. They want to do something else as well.
Let's get into the library of creation. Tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, so think of it like this. So when someone's in front of me and they need something, again, the healing, the spiritual activation, DNA activations, whatever they are, those codes are in a place in the etheric, all right? And you can call it an omni stream of divine consciousness. Well, the library of creation contains all codes that have ever existed. It's a library of all creation, right? So anything that's ever been created from every thought form, from any existence in the universe, is in this library.
Would you consider that the same as the Akashic Records?
No, not a bit. So you could say the Akashic Records would be a subset of the library. So the way the team tells me is like, listen, when an ET species wants to do DNA experimentations themselves, maybe create a new genetic line, right? It's already been created. They go in the library to pull those codes into the DNA to create that new genetic line that they want. The library contains all of it. It's literally a mapping of all quantum reality, is another way to say it from the science perspective. When I say me, it's really the team. When the team's working on you, they're pulling from that library, but they're pulling it at a really intense rate, right? You could have 12 things that are contributing to that shoulder pain, past lives, childhood trauma, 6 ancestors and, whatever, right? The team, when they work through me, will go and grab the codes to do all of it at once. When you go into the library yourself, you're actually talking to the library. So mechanically, how does this work? We've all been on visualizations, right? Guided meditations, if you will. Walk down the beach, do this thing. Well, in the library, they do rooms. Your upper self will project or map that trauma, whatever you say, we're going to remove trauma, right? We're going to map that trauma to a room in the library, and you're going to talk to the library of creation to say, please show me the object that represents the childhood trauma that makes me not love myself. This is an example, okay? And what this does, one, you don't have to remember the trauma. You're not reliving it. Your subconscious or your upper self is mapping to that object, of random object. And then when you tell the room to heal and release, those codes are coming down and shifting your energetic field in real time. You have access to the same codes I have access to. The difference is you may have to go into a couple rooms. You may have to go into the room of past lives, which is literally a room like a theater. And you would say something like, please show me the past lives that are contributing to me not able to love myself. And on the theater will show, TVs will start popping up, blurred and out of focus. and then you'll ask the room to heal those. They'll pop off. You'll feel the energy leaving your body. Now, the beautiful thing about the library creation, you could switch it up. You could say, show me that past live where I was absolutely in love, but show me that in the TV in high definition, and you're able to hop into the TV and remote view that past live where you're totally in love. I do not recommend doing that for trauma. We did that with one of the groups, and it was really, really not happy. No one was really happy with what they saw. They could see the trauma happening in that remote view session. But in there, the activations, we all do our monthly activations, the 4-4, the 5-5, the 6-6, the 8-8, go, Lionsgate. The codes are already there in the library. The only reason we do these on these certain dates is because of celestial alignment for the planet. But you can go in there now and get the code for 8-8 for August without having to wait. So all your activations are there that are in alignment for you. You just have to go in and ask for them and allow the integration to take place. So energy interference, past lives, karma, there's like 17 different rooms right now. And there's also a room you can go in and actually talk to your team and see them. So library creation, it is literally the bridge between that consciousness you've been always wanted to access and your energetic field.
Do you have to enter a meditative state to access these fields?
No, but you do need to be able to visualize. Because what's happening here is, as an example, in the room of energy interference, you say, please show me the energy interference in my field that I picked up at the grocery store today. Please show them as color sparkles in my field. This is an example, right? You're creating this visualization, and then you'll go in and you'll use a vacuum or whatever you want, and you'll pull those energy distortions out of your field, right? It's your interaction with that visualization that allows those codes to move into your field. So you do have to be able to visualize, but no meditative state.
So would you say our imagination is much more than something we use internally to create? It may be a realm of its own that has powers to manifest things in this reality.
Well, your imagination is the manifestation. You are tapping into the reality that you desire to have. So when you use your imagination to imagine things that aren't very fun, you are moving yourself into that quantum position, again, using the science term, for those things to show up. When you use your imagination to witness the energy moving out of your field, you're shifting your position in the quantum reality or bringing those codes down where they don't exist. Your imagination is a very, very real thing. And it took me years to accept the fact that what I'm visualizing was actually happening. When I do my sessions on people, I do my one-on-ones. I don't do one-on-ones anymore, but when I was doing them, if I didn't visualize pulling that energy out, it wasn't happening. If I didn't reach in and grab it, it wasn't happening because I'm an old data science guy, right? I do need some validation. How do you feel? Move the shoulder. Do you have full range of motion? Is your neck popping anymore? I do these within seconds. Like there's no time delay. I do it, I ask. Zero delay, and it happens that fast. So your imagination is a reality you're stepping into.
How much choice do you think we each really have as it relates to our incarnations? Are we reincarnated? Do we have a choice to come back? You said earlier that we can essentially choose to exit and have a replacement come in. So I'm guessing we do have a level of choice.
We have a level of choice. This is them kind of talking to me as well. We have a level of choice, but it's not the level of choice that you would understand. It's the idea that your upper self, the part of you that's outside of the body, is actually the one making the choice. We'll simply say that your soul, the 10% of you, while it may be unhappy and unfortunate and not liking what's happening and chooses to walk out, the decision itself is made by the entire soul that makes up the 100% of the inner and the outer structure, if you will. And then that particular case, the soul will then, as a whole, move out of the body, and another whole replacement will come down, again, with a new 90% on the outside, a new 10% on the inside. We have total choice, but recognize the choice really is made by that part of us that we're always trying to find. It's the one that runs your life. It's that subconscious thing that says, go do this thing. You should go try that thing. You should not do this thing. That's the one that's actually making the choice. Okay, so that was them channeling for you, or for your audience.
Right on. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the modalities you use, the methods, if someone is approaching you with that shoulder pain, how would you initiate the healing process?
So I don't have any modality. For your audience, there's no book I subscribe to. There's no process. There's no nothing. Right. Okay. I can walk into a grocery store and I never see anything about anybody. They turned off that empathetic ability because it would be overwhelming for me. But the moment you say, Ken, will you work on my shoulder? I will instantly see your energetic body. I will see sparkles and speckles in different colors, right? And as soon as I start using light language, your body energetic field will open up, and any entities, as an example, if they're part of that, will actually walk out of the body. All right. Any contracts will show up and they instantly get burned. Everything goes through a portal, right? I'll remove the distortions in your field, like removing, there's another way to say it. So again, we have distortions in our physical field, our cellular level, and I will literally open up a portal and use my hand, and the energy will flow through my hand. Again, it's a visualization, and out of your body. And you will feel you're getting lighter and lighter and lighter as the seconds and seconds go by, as this is being pulled out. Once that's done, I literally just pull down that Christ consciousness over the body and this gold or this white light which shifts the structure. But I see everything. I will see your black magic if you have magic on you. I will see the entities involved with that. I don't get in dialogues with any of them. I don't have conversations with any of these things. I'm like, you're here. If you're showing up, you got to go. Bubble them, bye-bye. Contracts, bye-bye, right? Your ancestral, I'll heal the ancestors and they'll shift and leave. The past lives are also removed instantly. I will see in your heart, I'm able to open up the heart and remove all that heart trauma, like black tar coming out of the heart. Same thing with the root chakra and the sacral. I'll pull all the trauma out of the ET stuff that might be attached to you. I can see the implants, energetic implants. The way it works is that when you ask for something, those images will show up. And it's like a to-do list or a checkbox for me. And it shows up differently for different folks. And my team doesn't necessarily talk to me as I'm doing it. It actually comes out of my chest as a knowing. So,
is there anything specific that one should do after these healings to maintain it? Any aftercare?
Yeah, grounding is one. Purging is another, in the types of emotional purging, because often there's emotional trauma there and they'll find themselves bawling within a day or two. And they won't be able to say it was John the Jerk as an example. They won't be able to put their hand on what's happening, right? But it's all that coming out, right? Nature, and just be self-care. But what's happening here also is that for those folks who've never had this happen to them before, they're getting a miracle. Let's define that for your audience. A miracle is something positive happening to you in your life or your body without a logical explanation. That's it. No biblical reference there at all, but it's just an easy way to say it. When you are standing straight again, your neck no longer cracking after 20 years, you got full range of motion after a few seconds, haven't done it in years. Whatever the issue is, your dis-ease is gone, your tumors are off the x-ray in 2 days. When that happens to you, you're like, oh my God. It's designed to give you what you need, but also to set you in motion on your own journey. So that you can discover, like I did in my event, oh my gosh, what happened to me? And I got to go figure it out. But it's designed to set you on your own healing journey so you can do more and more work, because there's always a lot of work, right? And you will ebb and flow through different community, different psychics, different past life healers, different Akashic record readers, whatever you're called to as you begin that journey of healing on your own. And people like me will show up and we'll be like, okay, we're gonna grab a bunch of it all at once, right? But there's still more to do. So what they need to do is continue to invest in themselves, in their own journey.
Would you say that a person has to believe in what you're doing in order for it to have an effect?
That's a yes and a no.
Okay.
Let me explain. For someone who's ready on the inside to release, they don't know how, they've gone to this doctor, they've gone to that doctor, whatever these things are, right? They're ready to release, and the egoic mind is ready? No. They don't need to know anything. It's time to do it. But then you've got the other individuals that are like, the guy's kind of full of, fill in the word there you want to use, right? I don't believe in this stuff, so on and so forth. And they've got such a resistance, it can't happen for them because they'll feel it and it'll go right away. Now, our egoic mind, and I like to say it's not the ego, not like, hey, Harry's got an ego. It's not like that. We all have an egoic mind inside of us, and it's there to protect us, okay? Imagine being harmed by a relationship and your ego's not going to let you feel the energy of a similar type of relationship again, right? It's there to protect you so you don't get harmed. When this high intensity energy comes in, the egoic mind can go into the, I don't know what this is, you can't have it right now. So that happens, and then we simply go in and we actually heal the ego. It gets a taste of the energy, realizes it's safe, and then they're able to receive. So a couple of different things. And then the only other way people don't receive is when you have entities or yuckies, because they will intercept and take from you.
Are you able to do all your healing remotely, say through Zoom?
Yeah, I can do it 80 miles an hour going down the road and a text message to a person I've never heard before. So I'm connected to anything. As I'm working on someone that says, hey, my daughter or my son, and with approval, of course, they got this thing. I'm already connected the moment they put the consciousness of that person in their brain. I'm already connected, seeing what's happening to that person. I can do it anywhere, and I can do it without knowing who's in front of me as well. So think of it like this. On my social media channels, I'm always dropping what we call codes, 45-second clips, minute clips, whatever these are, and then longer ones. Anytime somebody hears that, they're receiving what they need. I'm not there. So yeah, I can do it on anybody, and it happens literally on anybody. I get a lot of text messages from people.
Now, I know you said earlier you don't really do much research into the esoteric topics and things that are occurring around the planet related to this, but since especially 2020, even after 2012, it seems that more and more people have become more open to spiritual concepts, starting to wake up to a lot of the hidden aspects of our reality, and seeking a lot of answers as it relates to themselves, the systems that govern us, and the spiritual reality of this existence. Have you seen the same thing amongst people? And if so, do you think we're in a special time period because this is occurring?
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, this is my job. And I want to elaborate on that a little bit, right? When I started coming online, I thought everyone could do this. Like, I didn't have a background. It's not like I knew there were limitations, as an example. And my team tells me I've literally done this job over 3 billion times. And I'm like, you got to explain that to me, because that seems a little ludicrous, right? They're like, listen, no, your one job is to show up at times of ascension for species, for races, and rapidly ascend them. So we're in a 30-year cycle. Now, I say me, but there's probably gosh knows how many other people in the world doing this in their own special way. Every one of us has things, so don't look at that as an ego thing. I'm just telling you about my job. I only show up when it's time to accelerate the process. And I do it for large masses of people. We go in there, we pull all that stuff out they've been working on for years. We do it in moments so they can also accelerate their own ascension. So yeah, we're all waking up. And as we wake up, we each have something we do for either our own soul or for the community. Now, maybe that's just a few people, or maybe that's a few million people, depending on what your job is. But yeah, we're all waking up and we're all realizing we're much more than our physical form, way much more.
Would you say that the time period we're in has special significance on a cosmic scale?
Yeah, I do. One of the things I do remember is this 13,000 year cycle. And I say remember something I read. And as we read things, we're either going to feel the discernment inside of us as this feels accurate and truth to me, or it doesn't. And every one of us has unique discernment. So my discernment may not be your truth, and it's not supposed to be like that. But for me, the way I see it, there's this 13,000 year ebb and flow, right? And we're at the bottom, so to speak, of that 13,000 year cycle, coming back up into our evolutionary phase, right? We're coming back online after we de-evolved, after the fall of whatever you want to call it. After we de-evolved and we came back down, lost all of our connection to spirit and consciousness. And as the cycle comes up, the energy out there says, okay, now it's time. And it is time.
Excellent. For the last few minutes, I know you said you wanted to do an activation for the audience. So if you'd like, we can go ahead and do that.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't heard light language before, you're going to have to just kind of relax with the giggle factor for a moment. All right. Because some people say it sounds like tongues, religious tongues. And what I want to say about that is when you are doing light language under the context of parameters, the light language is going to come down like that. So if you're doing tongues based on your preferred religion A, well, everything coming down is going to adhere you to those parameters, right? Or religion B, whatever these are. I have no religion. Everything that comes down is very, very organic from the divine itself with no parameters. You're going to hear different tones. You're going to hear different speeds. You're going to hear different stuff. There's nothing you need to do. Like literally sit there and smile if you like. It doesn't matter. But when these tones change, that is different divine frequencies coming down through the hollow bone, as I mentioned earlier, with a tool, with something somebody in your audience needs or majority needs, and I won't know what they are. So I'm just going to drop in, let them do their thing. We'll have a little fun, but just have your audience have fun too, because it's going to be a giggle factor for those of you that don't know. For those that you do know, recognize what's happening in your body. Recognize your emotional field. Many of you are going to have shifts in the physical discomforts for those that are ready for those shifts. Again, everyone's different. Here we go. Mamoya taro siano tomoko. Kushata kamatari kotia takamaletia shetakiri tia no tano tatukatua tau, kau shao, kiritia. Shotono to makao, kamaki, kitiki, tota kaura tortaka. Shetatari orto, totochikotia papa. Mapaturi kotio taro tortokonoto, toto tiro taro parao, karapa, kia. Kamaka, oka, onkadode, manetica, netico, netico, shara malaria, shara malaria, galamalaria, rito, conorato, corruto, shiro irti, iritica, camaleto, and Rushilatia, Mariara, Shirodoro, Shiroko, the Baruca, shara malaria, Shiro, Torredo, Shiro, Canaleo, Shiro, malaria, Kutikar, morto, Porieta car, the Kinietaro, tono, Tacaro, Torrecinitica. Mapakiri ta ti roto corto kanoshi to como toto tikita ka toto shikoto kau mambaleri ara no retakina matana di no tono te chido roto kadito karato shitito tar mpale rotor te kina tika na shiata mama shakia na kau kamaku kutoko pore aro shiroto no toto shikuta apaka aro shiroto. Okay, so that's it. So everyone feels a little something different, some don't, but it's okay. You may find yourself like 2 or 3 days like, why am I just feeling like this weirdness? And some people just feel lighter and they won't understand why. But it's okay though.
All right on. Well, thank you for that, Ken. This was a great discussion. Fascinating information. Before I let you go, remind the audience how they can get a hold of you, find out more, get access to your content.
Sure. So YouTube, Instagram, KenLloyd.official, same with Facebook, but KenLloydOfficial.com, you'll find my Wednesday night events, my Sunday events, my distant healing. I have a catalog of over 400 things to work on things, so you don't have to wait for me. You can show up the catalog, browse it, and pull out whatever kind of item that might work on your activations or your dis-ease or whatever things you're feeling. So literally the whole buffet of whatever you may need is available at KenLloydOfficial.com. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you, Ken. This was great. We'll definitely have to talk again in the future. And until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We will talk again tomorrow. We'll see y'all then. Hello, friends. I am so excited to tell you about Independent Media Token. Independent Media Token is a brand new way to show your support for independent media without having to donate a dime. Independent Media Token is a cryptocurrency on the Solana blockchain designed to generate funds to promote and foster the growth of independent content creators, allowing them to engage in their art without having to worry about being demonetized. Through a network of media partners, of which you yourself can become a part of, Independent Media Token's goal is to ensure the powers that be can never cut off all of our areas of funding and censor the only free voices left in the world. Join the movement today. You can pick up Independent Media Token using Phantom Wallet or the Solana wallet of your choice, where you can easily swap your Solana for IMT. Grab some IMT today and remember to always know your team. To learn more, visit independentmediatoken.com or use the link right in the description. If you're looking to start your therapeutic microdosing journey, but don't know where to start, especially when looking for the highest quality ingredients, including nootropics, and what you'd expect from a true microdose capsule, check out our friends at Brainsupreme. They offer the absolute highest quality ingredients so you can start your microdosing journey knowing that you're getting top-notch ingredients. To find out more, visit their website using that link right in the description, and you can get 15% off your entire order. Are you and your family prepared for an emergency? Maybe the fake alien invasion? Now is the time to prepare yourself and your family for any event. Check out Prep Starts Now. Their mission is to provide high-quality preparedness products that empower individuals and families to be ready for any situation. They're committed to delivering reliable, trusted gear to ensure your safety, security, and peace of mind in times of need. Their product selection is carefully curated to provide you with the essential gear you need to stay prepared. From emergency kits to tactical tools, every item is chosen for its reliability and practicality. Prep Starts Now understands the importance of family, and their goal is to equip you with everything you need to build a solid plan for your family's preparedness. In today's ever-changing world, being prepared is more important than ever, and Prep Starts Now is here to help you and your family stay ready with quality products and practical guidance. Use the link in the description and get 15% off your order.